Hi there, this is Andrew Brody with Yokogawa's Network Solutions Group. Today I'm going to take you through configuring a DX Advanced or DAQStation with R4 firmware from scratch. So I'm going to take you through how to set up a couple channels, how to put a network address in it, how to change it from default Celsius readings to Fahrenheit readings, and a couple other things along the way. So just quickly to kind of let you know what version you're running on, I would press the function key on the front keypad. If you can't see the function key, you may need to flip down a little panel that has various numbers for all the channels on it. And behind that, hopefully, you'll find a function key. Once you do, you can press the function key, and a set of options will come up at the bottom. And these correspond to the little gray keys underneath what you see on the screen, and these little gray keys don't really have any markings on them, so you can see stuff like alarm acknowledge, message, media eject, snapshot, manual sample. If I hit the button under the next, it's going to show me a few more things like save display, math start, math reset. This math reset's a good one to know in case you have a totalizer or something that you're doing and you want to reset it to scratch. Essentially, you stop the recorder, come in here through the function key, and then you pick the math reset. If I go next here, you'll see one more. And this is system information is the one that's going to be of interest to us here. If you don't see system information, you've got maybe an older DAQStation, maybe it's just a regular DAQStation, not a DAQStation Advanced, then you might see some different choices under the function key. And to get to system info, you'll hit the function key, then you'll pick log, and then you'll pick system info under the log. So this one here can be accessed directly, so I'm going to hit that key right now. This kind of tells me what I have right now for system info. It says I have a 30 channel system with 60 math channels, and I can bring in 240 remote channels. Also says I have internal 1800 megabytes of memory. I've got the Ethernet, compact flash, USB, calibration correction, multi-batch, and the new AS1 or advanced security option that's available with the R4 firmware. You'll also find that here's the MAC address of the Ethernet adapter. Sometimes your IT guys will be interested in this. And then also it shows the version of firmware. In this case, it's 4.00A09, which is a pre-release of the R4 firmware. Okay, so what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to hit the display enter key. It brings up a little menu on the side. This is where I can kind of pick what I want to visualize. I'm going to go back to my group one, and here's the default screen that we all start with as soon as you power up a unit out of the box. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the menu key on the front. This will bring up the top level menu. Now for configuring a unit the first time, you're going to go down here to something like date time, and you're going to go over to time settings, and you're going to go ahead and make sure that you put in the correct time settings. In this case, I've already got the correct time settings. You know, the one thing that isn't right on this is I'm saying GMT plus 09. I'm actually in the -5 time zone. So that'll be something we can set up later, and I'll show you where to do that. Okay. Also under here, you're going to see daylight savings time. This is where you can go in and configure, you know, what you want for your daylight savings time. Other things that we're going to find here is how to set up measurement channels, math channels, display groups, and so on. But before we get too deep into that, I want you to go down to this basic setting mode down at the bottom here, and you can just use your arrow keys to navigate to it. Once you do, you can hit enter key, and also here's a shortcut for some people is once you get to this menu by hitting the menu key, you can hold down the function key for 3 seconds. That'll also take you to the basic setting mode. Alright, to go to basic setting mode, the recorder has to be stopped. We can see up in the top middle there's a little icon here that says stop on it. If that's currently running in green, then that means that you're not going to be able to get to basic setting mode. You're going to have to hit the stop button and choose to stop memory or memory and math if you happen to be running both. So I'm going to pick basic setting mode here. It's going to ask me, yeah, I'm going to proceed to basic setting mode. Now once I'm here, I'm going to be shown a couple tabs. If you got an older DAQStation, you're not going to see as many tabs. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to environment, and under environment I'm going to pick operating environment. Now right at the top here, see how it says tag or channel? If I want to display stuff on my screens by tag name, I'm going to pick tag. If I just want to see them by channel name, I'm going to do that. If I'm doing a language other than English, this is where I can pick it. Alright. I can also go down here to the temperature. This is critical to set right up front because it changes all the lookup tables for temperatures within the system for thermocouples and RTDs. So if you go and change this after you've done a bunch of programming, guess what? It's going to reset your system back to a base configuration. So make sure this is one of the first things you come in and set. So in this case, since I'm in the United States and a lot of people like Fahrenheit here, I'm going to go ahead and hit the gray button under the choice down in the bottom that said F for Fahrenheit, and I'm going to leave it at decimal point for the point type. If I was in Europe, I might pick comma. Alright, and then down here, this basic setting mode, remember how we picked that from the top level menu? I can choose to turn this off so that maybe you know, an operator doesn't hit the menu key and get himself into trouble by going here, and then I'll just remember myself that I can still get back here by holding the function key for 3 seconds. Alright. So once I have everything on here, I can hit the display enter key again, and this will change the setting for Fahrenheit from yellow to white. When it does, that means that that Fahrenheit change was accepted. So I'm going to escape out of here, and I'm going to go up to over to the menu item. The menu, under menu, this is where I can set up stuff like alarms. If I want to do like a reflash, reflash is essentially if a new alarm comes in, it'll momentarily pause for a couple milliseconds. At least it'll be an audible change in something like a relay. It will temporarily go from on to off. So if you could imagine a horn was hooked up to that alarm relay, then you'd hear kind of like a quick little pause, and that little pause would be a indication that a new alarm had come in. I can also set my hysteresis settings down here. I can set how my alarms, whether they interact with any internal switches. These internal switches are for stuff, they're essentially memory bits. So you can trigger an alarm to go directly to a relay, or you can actually trigger a memory bit. And so these are some of the memory bits here. And so this is just saying that, hey, if I'm going to do a relay, I can AND it with one of these memory bits. Alright, let's see, going through here, you can just see some of the other stuff. You've got hold and non-hold. Non-hold essentially means that if you're in alarm and nobody goes in and acknowledges it, and then it eventually drifts out of alarm, then it'll be non-hold on the relay, which just means that the relay will cut out on its own if the thing that was an alarm drifts out of alarm. But if it's set to hold, it'll actually keep that relay energized even if the item is no longer an alarm till somebody comes up and acknowledged it. Alright, so I'm going to escape out of here. A to D memory settings. Let's take a look here. Scan interval. This is essentially how often I'm scanning those inputs. I got a choice of 1, 2, or 5 seconds. A to D integrate. If we're in the States, I normally leave that at auto, or you could also pick 60 Hertz. And that's about all you really need here. I'll show you one more thing. Display or event. You got two different types of recording you can do. One is display. This is kind of like similar to a paper chart recorder. This is where you can go ahead and do and this is how it works. Every point that's logged gets a minimum and a maximum during the sample period logged. So kind of like an old paper chart recorder, if it was at a specific sample, it would drag the pen up and drag the pen down, and so you'd see kind of a rub up and a rub down where the pen currently was, and that just indicates the maximum and minimum during that sample. The other type we have here is event, and what event does is it essentially just gives you 1 point per sample period, and it's just an instantaneous sample. So if you got your event data being collected every 5 seconds, you'll just see one chunk of data, not a min or a max, just one chunk in there every 5 seconds. Alright, so I'm going to escape out of here. Other things that are going to be important is under time settings. This is where you can go ahead and input your particular time zone. So in my case, I'm in the eastern part of the United States, and we're minus 500 here. So I'm just going to hit enter there. If you don't quite know your time zone setting, you can always go to your Windows clock down in the bottom right hand corner. Sometimes double clicking that will allow you to kind of go to a map where you can then you know, see where you are on the map, and then it'll tell you what your time zone is as well. And in our case, it's minus 500. And then once it came, what I can do is I can just go ahead and hit enter here, and then that'll basically accept that change. So I'm going to escape out now. Go down to Communications Ethernet. By default, these all come with Ethernet ports on them. So I can use my right arrow over there, go to IP address, and then what I can do is I can go ahead, go down to input here, and I can go ahead and put in a IP address here on the unit. So I'm just kind of going with the standard one that I've had on this unit in the past. You can of course put whatever you want on yours. For my subnet mask, for this guy I usually just go 255 with the rest zeros. I don't have a default gateway since I'm just on a switch. I can hit enter. And now what I can do is I've got my computer hooked up through a switch. My IP address on my computer is 10.201.118. Subnet mask is the same as this guy. And so because the first three match up, the 10.201 matches up with the 10.201 on mine, and this unit's 115 and mine's 118, I can go ahead and connect with these guys no problem using DAQ standard. And I've already got some videos up on YouTube that show how to use the DAQ standard configurator or data viewer. Okay, so now I'm going to hit escape to get out of here. So that's gone ahead, set up IP address. There's other things in here you can do, like set up email, set up a web page. I'll show you very quickly the web viewing here. I go to web page. I can go ahead, turn this on as an operator, go ahead on, access control. I'm not going to do any access control here, and go enter. So what this will do is for people that want to also have this guy as a web server, now they can go to Internet Explorer, type in the IP address that we put in on the other page into Internet Explorer, the 10.201.115 into Internet Explorer, and they're going to get to see what's on this screen when it's up and running. Okay, so I'm going to hit escape out of here right now. Server here, we go over here, server modes. This is where you can turn on stuff like, hey, I want to be able to access this with FTP. I want to be able to access this with web. I want to do network time synchronization. This is where you can say you can use this. If you're talking to some Group Schneider or other types of Modbus capable Ethernet devices, you can use it here. Or if you're talking to an Allen Bradley PLC or something that uses Ethernet IP, you can click use here. So I'm going to escape out of here for now. So for now, we're pretty much good to go with the basics. I can go ahead and hit end, and those settings are going to take effect, and we're going to come back up, and everything should be ready for me to start some basic configurations for a measurement channel here. Okay, you can see how it said everything was initialized there. That's because I changed it from Celsius to Fahrenheit. So I'm going to go in here and set up my very first point. So I'm going to hit the menu key now. I'm going to go down to measurement channel. I'm going to go over on measurement channel, and I'm going to pick range alarm. Okay, up here where it says 001 for first channel and 001 for last channel, down at the bottom I could increment those if I need to. Say I wanted to change all 10 channels at once, like channels 1 through channel 10. I could just go over here, bump this last channel all the way up to 10, and then any changes I make down here would it'd be like a group change. So channels 1 through 10 would all become voltages in this case. But in this case, I'm only doing one channel at a time. I've got a thermocouple hooked up to my first channel, so I'm going to pick TC down at the bottom for thermocouple. It's a type T thermocouple that I got attached, so I'm going to hit the next button till I see T. Now I got T there. This minus 328 to 752, it's just kind of the top and bottom scale for that thermocouple that you see on the screen. You can really change these to anything you want within that range, just to limit how much you're seeing on the screen. It's not going to affect the actual reading though. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the input button here. And I'm going to say, well, guess what? I want it to go from 0. And since this is in my home office, hopefully it's not going to get too hot. And I'm going to say, something like 50. Okay, so it's going to go from 0 to 50. If I want to set up an alarm on it, I can go down here, go on. I can say put in a high alarm. I'm going to put in a high alarm at something like 30. And then if I wanted to trigger a relay, I could go over here. The eyes are the relays. You can see you can have up to 30 or up to 18 relays in this case. And then, 24 relays. And then down here, here's those memory switches that I told you about that you can also turn on. So in this case, I'm not actually going to turn on a relay, so I'm just going to go off, hit enter. So there I go. I've set up my very first channel. I'm going to escape out of there. I'm going to go down to this tag memory sample alarm, and I'm going to give this guy a name, input, and I'm just going to call it, if I go down here, we can see there's a little gray function key under A1. And this allows me to switch between lower and uppercase and stuff like that. So on like a DX2000, you've got a keypad, kind of like on a cell phone. And just by pressing the same one and then over key, you know, I can go ahead and put in, you know, some letters here. All right. So I'm just going to call this one home temp. Okay, so as soon as I got that in there, I've gone ahead and set it up. Memory sample just means that I want to log it. If I have an alarm with an alarm delay, this is what the delay would be. I can hit enter there. All right, so all those changes have been accepted. I can escape out of there. If I want to do moving averages, change the color, stuff like that, I can do it. If I want to do a calibration correction, I can go ahead and do that. Over here, I'm going to go right arrow. Under math channel, this is where I could set up some calculations and stuff like that. If I was doing totalizations flow, I could do that there. Okay, the next place I'm going to go would be down here to display. If I go to display and then right arrow over, trend save interval. This is going to be important for you. And this is how trend save interval works. When we're looking at a trend screen, we're going to see some vertical lines going up and down, especially when you're looking at a default screen. If you've changed the orientation, they might be horizontal lines. But essentially, between those lines is how much your time span is per division. So by default, this guy, it's 1 minute per division. And let me tell you how this works. That 1 minute per division, you convert it to seconds. So it'll be 60 seconds. Now, 60 seconds per division correlates to 30 pixels. Okay, so there's actually 30 little dots on the screen from one line to the next. And because it's essentially doing a sample for each of those pixels, 60 seconds divided by 30 pixels is going to give you one sample every 2 seconds. Okay, so if you're looking at your compact flash or your data log later on, you're actually going to see a sample every 2 seconds if I have this minute per division. If I had 10 minutes per division, it would be, 10 minutes equals 600 seconds. 600 seconds divided by 30 pixels gives me 20 seconds per sample. So that's kind of the math you do there. So if I go ahead and pick 10 minutes, I'm now down to a sample every 20 seconds. All right, my save interval. My save interval is how often I want this to create a new file. Right now it's going to create a new file every hour. I go next. I want to create a new file every day. So now I'm going to have samples every 20 seconds, and I'm going to have a new file written every day. And I'm going to hit enter there. All right. Now all those changes have been accepted. I'm going to escape out of there. The next thing we're going to take a look at here quickly is your group set. I'm going to pick that. Okay, under group set, you can have multiple groups on your recorder, and once again down at the bottom you can increment your groups if you want. So down here you can turn a group on or off, which means basically it'll be available for visualization or not. You can give it a name. So in this case, I'm just going to give my group a name of something like, home. Okay. So I'm going to say home. And then I'm just going to delete the rest of this stuff, and I'm going to hit enter. And down here, I don't have all these channels done, so I'm just going to hit input on that. I'm going to go over here, and I'm just going to delete the rest of these by hitting the gray key under the delete. Okay, so anyways, I deleted all those. You can have up to 10 channels in a group. I'm going to hit enter. All right, there we go. I'm going to hit enter again to accept those changes. I'm going to escape out of here. Those are all the most common things that you're going to do. I'm going to show you one last thing here under menu customize. You know, when we hit the function key, if I want to trim down what I see when I hit the function key, I can essentially go in here and hide stuff. Similarly, for the display menu that pops up on the side, I can go through here and hide stuff as well. So in this case, I don't want to show that, I don't want to show that, I don't want to show that. Okay. Now I can escape out of here, go down to end. I'm going to end my settings. It's going ahead and saving my configuration. And once we do that, there we go. So now you can see I've got my temperature up on the screen here. You can see that it's in alarm because I set my alarm at 30. Okay. And I'm currently reading 77.2 degrees Fahrenheit, and you can see it has home temp for the name of it. All right. If I go over here, hit my display enter, if I want to take a look at it digitally, I can do that. You can see up in the bottom or up in the top corner, temporarily when I go to something like that, it'll show home, and then it overwrites by 00. You know, that's just kind of indicating where we are in the file process here. All right. If I hit the display enter key again, go up to trend, I can go ahead and hit the start button now on my recorder. I've got mine in batch mode, so it asks for a little more information. If you don't have yours in batch mode, this won't show up. I go ahead and hit start, and away it goes. Now it's recording away, and what we should see is we should see a trend start to move across the screen. In this case, if the temperatures doesn't look like it's set to the right scale, see how it says 0 to 50? I can go, okay, well that's not working for me. I can go ahead, hit stop my recording. I can go ahead, go back, hit the menu key, go back to my measurement channel, go back to my range alarm, and go, okay, you know, I'm actually doing Fahrenheit here now, so how about I change that scale to 100? How about I change this to, I don't know, like 80? Hit enter to set those changes, escape back. Escape again. Are you sure you want to enter? Exit setting mode. And then what you'll see at this point is you'll see, okay, it's now 0 to 100 for my scale. You can see the pen there. You can see I'm no longer an alarm. I go ahead and hit start, hit enter. And what we'll see over time is we'll just see a little line start to track across the screen showing that it's actually 77.5 degrees in my home office here. So that takes you through the basic 1, 2, 3 type setup of a channel inside a DAQStation advanced with R4 firmware. And hope this was of interest to you. Take care. Have a great day.